Today I wanted to share 10 of my favorite games that I've played in the last year, and since it's spooky season and all, I thought that I would separate out the list by games to play anytime and games to play in the fall. Also, I played all of these games on Switch, but I'll put some little icon on the screen to show all the platforms that it's available on in case you don't have a Switch or you prefer other platforms. Gris is a beautiful puzzly platformer, and it has some of the prettiest colors of any game I've ever played. Also, the animations are just so satisfying and so calming. This is such a great one to play, in the evenings, winding down from a day of work. The entire atmosphere and feeling of playing it was half of the joy for me. You'll see from the rest of the recommendations that I love puzzle games, but I typically don't like platformers. But this one wasn't overly complicated or convoluted, and I didn't feel like there were too many areas of the game where I had to repeatedly try the same thing to the point where I was getting frustrated or just straight up couldn't move on. I was mostly able to just focus on the puzzles and enjoy all the scenery and kind of watch the game come to life. Each level you get a new color introduced to the environment, and it's just so pretty to see how you go from having just black and white and one color to a fully saturated world that just gets more and more beautiful as you go. This is such a sweet puzzle game about a lost ember trying to find its way home. I love playing games like this before bed, just like with Gris, because it's so calming, and this one in particular has a lot of smaller puzzles, so they're very clear stopping points. I just really liked how this was set up, where there's a map for the area that you're in and you can explore it, and it's just fun to run around in, but there's also little puzzles that kind of branch out from the map that you're on. And in each little puzzle section, it's very clear, once you're done with that puzzle, you can stop and put it down or move on and do a few more puzzles. So it's really easy to play in small bursts or to binge if you want to. The ending to this one literally made me cry. I did not realize I was signing up for that when I picked up this little puzzle game on sale one day. A big departure from the last two games, Let's Build a Zoo is a chaotic pixel art zoo tycoon style game. I have had so much fun working on my zoo. I played this obsessively for 2 weeks to a month. I think it was a month because I did not read very much that month. I was planning my zoo even when I wasn't playing it. On my lunch breaks at work, I was sketching out zoo designs. I actually brought my Switch to work with me to work on my zoo at lunch one day. So that's how you know that it's serious. I was heavily invested in this game. At its core, it's really just a management sim, but it has a really unique morality system, and you can choose to be more moral or immoral, and those choices actually matter. Unlike with Stardew and Jojo Mart, if you don't do the community center and you just do the Jojo route, you kind of miss half of the game. This one isn't like that. You still get equally as many options either way you go. If you're more moral, you can get things like wind turbines and solar panels. And if you're more immoral, you can get things like a factory to process your animals and turn them into meat. So very different routes. I personally went the more moral route because I like having my nice little perfect utopia zoo. It has just been so much fun. I would say one caveat though, if you usually prefer playing games on Switch, I might recommend, if you have access to other platforms, to maybe play this on a computer, because I think there would be some benefit to playing this with a keyboard and mouse. I think this game came out a little while ago, but they're still updating it, and they have come out with 2 DLCs for it that are pretty affordable. So one of them's a dinosaur park, and the other one's an aquarium that just came out. So I'm really excited to pick up the aquarium one and try it soon. This is truly a no plot, just vibes kind of game. You are literally just organizing things and solving little puzzles along the way. This one's kind of cool because you can solve the puzzles in multiple different ways by organizing things in different configurations. So there's some replayability there, and they do have a daily challenge. Once you finish the main game, you can pull it up every day and do a little organization thing. But to me, that's not what makes the game worth it. It's more just the taking a break and doing a few puzzles. I just had so much fun with it. It's also really nicely designed, relaxing colors. Occasionally a cat paw will come in and mess up the thing that you're working on and you have to redo it. So it's a little bit silly, it's a little bit fun, and they did come out with a DLC recently that I'll definitely be picking up and checking out next time I want this kind of game. I absolutely love all of the games on this list, but this one is definitely my favorite. Spiritfarer is essentially just a task management game, but it is so much more than that. I feel like this game is pretty highly recommended, so I don't want to go on about it too much, but essentially you play Estella, who is the new Spiritfarer. So she ferries people from one life to the next after they've passed on. and you get to know all the different characters. They're all people that Stella knows from her own life, and they're all on the boat as like an animal version of themselves. So you kind of run this ship and there's all these cute animals running around, not quite like Animal Crossing, but if you like that kind of thing where, you know, you have the villagers and you make them happy and all of that, you'll probably like this game. There is really a lot to this beyond just the task management. You have the whole ship, which you can upgrade and work on, and you can fully customize the layout of everything in your ship, like where all of the different rooms go. So that's kind of like a fun puzzle to do, and also just to do it in a way that looks nice and is functional. It's a little bit platformy with just navigating the ship and then also some of the different lands that you travel to, but there's also a lot of really good story with all of the different characters that come onto your boat. The more that you help them, the more that you learn about their story. I cried so many times playing this game. I knew that it would make me emotional because of what I'd heard from other people, but I don't think I realized how emotional it would make me. So take that as you will, word of caution. Keep a box of tissues around. The one thing that I do really appreciate about this game though is that you control the pace of it. So if you're not ready to let go of a character on your boat yet, you don't have to. You can keep them around. You can choose what you want to focus on. If you want to focus more on upgrading your ship, or if you want to focus more on traveling to other lands, or if you want to focus more on the people on your boat. It's all up to you. So it's really cool in that way. And I think it's very unique because it doesn't have to be linear. You don't have to follow a specific storyline. You can do things more or less in whatever order you want to. I'm not going to say much more just for the sake of spoilers, but the last thing that I will say is the cat, Daffodil, is so cute. I have so many screenshots and videos of Stella and Daffodil hugging, or like Daffodil just doing something cute, because I was just so obsessed with like all the little animations for the cat and all of the little like moments that you could have with your cat who kind of like follows you around all the time. It's also just like a really nice game to relax with because, like I said, you can go at your own pace, but that also means that you can just stand at the front of your ship and watch the scenery change all day if you want to. I did that quite a few times, and I think that's the perfect way to play this game. Even though there is the task management aspect to it, you're not on any kind of timeline to get things done. You can really just take your time and appreciate the game. I just started playing this one and I already know that it's on my favorite games list. This one's pretty popular and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's very much like A Little to the Left, but with an actual plot. So you're unpacking things and organizing them, and you do follow one character, and I don't believe you ever see them, but you are unpacking their room in different houses and apartments and all of that, from their childhood bedroom to their first college dorm to their first apartment with roommates. It's just really cool and kind of nostalgic in a way to go through this journey, and at least for me, to reflect on all the different places that I've lived, just seeing like the items that they always have with them, like from childhood or from their first apartment, that carry on beyond that. I don't want to say too much else just because so much of the magic of this one to me has been getting into those later rooms that I wasn't prepared for and didn't really have any context for. So it's just really cool to see where the story goes, and it's a story that's totally told through the unpacking of their things. So I think that's really unique, really clever, and really well done. It's kind of crazy how this game can make you feel something and you're not even really presented with a character or like a protagonist. It's just their things. So I think that's pretty powerful. Kicking off the fall category with a very much no plot, just vibes kind of game. This is like playing Catan, but with yourself, or Catan. Please let me know how you say it, because I say Catan and now I'm starting to hear more people call it Catan and I'm having an identity crisis. This is like playing a board game with yourself. You don't really have any stakes. I think you can actually just play in a sandbox mode if you'd like to. You can play this one however you want. It's just a cute little game to throw on when you have something that you're kind of watching in the background, or if you're like rewatching a TV show. I feel like this is a great one to pair with Gilmore Girls if you've seen that like a million times. Play this while you're watching Gilmore Girls. Just, you know, give yourself something else to do. The reason why I put this in the fall category is because as you play the game, you unlock different biomes. There's one biome that looks like fall, and there's another one that looks to me kind of like a spooky village. I think just for the sake of those, it belongs in this category, especially because once you find a biome you can kind of like build more off of that and get more and more of that biome on the map that you're building. So if you start to explore a different part and you see that it's going into a biome that you like don't really care to add on to, you can just stop building out that way and like build onto another part of your map. It's really fun, very relaxing, and it's a great one to just play whenever you feel like it. Absolutely no stakes. This one is such a cute murder mystery game. You play as Jenny, who's this like spunky preteen wannabe detective. Her mom is a forensics professor at a university, and something's happened and she takes it upon herself to uncover the secret to this murder mystery. It's super funny, she's super sassy, the dialogue is incredible. If you played like Freddy Fish as a kid, or you like point and click mystery games, playing this game to me is like honoring my inner child, like for real. So cute, and it's also fully voice acted, which is an amazing plus, because I know sometimes when I play these kind of games, I get a little bit burned out just reading the dialogue of the story the whole time, but you don't have to do that with this one. It's like half watching a movie, half playing a game. My partner and I love playing these kinds of games together, so we played this one last year and it was great. We'll like trade the controllers back and forth whenever there's a save point, and we'll talk through different puzzles. There's always something that like one of us gets immediately and the other one doesn't, so it makes it super fun, and it also gives us a chance to see how each other plays games because we play them very differently. A lot of the dialogue doesn't really have any impact on anything, so you can have a lot of fun with it. I kind of want to call this one the spooky version of Gris, but that's not quite right. It is like a puzzly platformer type of game, but I feel like more heavy on the puzzling than the platforming for the most part, but you can die. Luckily, this game has a ton of save points, so whenever you die, you just get reset to that one point. It's not like Mario where you have 3 lives and then you have to start the whole thing over again. So that makes it pretty low stakes overall. But the way that this character dies is sometimes so funny. The physics in the game can be like wild. Sometimes you'll think that like, oh, something's gonna hit my character, they're just gonna like fall down, and they'll go like flying into the air. It's really kind of silly for a game that does get a little bit creepy at times. I think once you get a hang of where the game resets you and when it saves, you feel pretty comfortable like picking this game up and putting it down and doing something else. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend like play this one before bed because to me it did freak me out a little bit, but this is a good one to like play throughout spooky season. I'd say you don't have to like play it all in one sitting, or I wouldn't really recommend playing it all in one sitting, because to me the joy of it is being able to pick it up whenever and have a little funny moment when you don't quite figure out the puzzle on the first try. The other funny thing about this is that you can kind of just like walk into the level and see what happens. It's not super obvious like, oh, there's a hole in the ground, I want to jump over that. You can kind of just like walk your character into it and see what happens to them, because you know it's just going to put you back to where you came from anyway. I will say for some of the later puzzles, I did have to look up a couple of solutions. It was much later on in the game, so I think most of them are kind of intuitive once you get the hang of it, but there were a few later on that I couldn't figure out, my partner couldn't figure out. And there were like 1 or 2 that I had to have him play for me because there was some like timing to it that I just couldn't get right. And timing is very much his kind of thing with games. So I let him do those so I could continue. But other than that, I'd say it was great. If you're someone who's a little bit better at the timing, a little bit better at the platforming, you'd probably have no problems with this. And there's also a sequel to this one. That one's called Inside, and I actually bought both of them on sale last year, so I'm gonna play Inside this year and get the same kind of experience this spooky season with playing that whenever I feel like picking up some sort of puzzle. This one is so different from all the other games on this list, but I feel like it's probably the best one for fall specifically. You're running this kind of potion shop, but your interface stays pretty much the same the whole time. You have this like shelf of all your plants, you have your workspace, you have some drawers with different maps and letters and stuff in it, and you have your window where your customers show up. And it's kind of like Spiritfarer in the sense that you don't really have a timeline. You can kind of do things as you want. If you want to spend more time exploring and labeling your plants and all of that, you can, but you do have to deal with your customers at some point. There's no rush though. You can always like get to them whenever. So it's interesting because it's kind of a combination of like the cozy low stakes, but there are some actual stakes to this game. This game has a subplot, or I guess it is the main plot of the game. The subplot is probably just doing all of the organization stuff that I like doing the most, but the plot of this game is that there's something going on in the town and you kind of hear about it through the customers that come to your shop, and you can choose whether you want to help them and give them the thing that they asked for or sabotage them, depending on like which side of the conflict you choose to be on. and there are 8 different endings to this game. I've only played it through once, so I do really want to play it again this year because that was 2 years ago now that I played it for the first time. I don't remember much of it other than labeling the plants. Another element to this game is that you don't really have to worry too much about giving someone the wrong thing, because in the cases where it's not like a critical choice for you to decide, do I actually want to help this person or not? All the regular people who come to your shop, if you do give them the wrong thing, you have this kind of meter, and once it gets down all the way from you like giving out the wrong item, you'll have to do a little puzzle and then your meter fills back up again. So it's almost like a treat if you think about it. For messing up, congrats, here's a puzzle for you. But then you can just continue on with the game. So I would say overall, this one is pretty chill as long as you're not too stressed about getting a specific ending. And to me, that was kind of the fun of it. I didn't do any research or like try for a specific ending. I don't even know what they all are. I didn't even know that there were 8 of them until I looked it up when I was trying to give you an accurate number here. I think it's cool to like play it in a relaxed way and then decide like, oh, well, what side of this do I want to be on once you start getting some more of the pieces together. I'm interested to play this again and maybe play it a bit more chaotically than I normally play things on my second playthrough. If you're looking for any more fall recommendations and you happen to like reading as well, I did make a fall reading recommendations video, so feel free to check that out. I'm also planning on making a video of all of the books that I want to read in fall. Let me know what some of your favorite cozy games are, especially if you have fall recommendations. I would love to check them out. I'm always checking the eShop for sales and things like that. But I hope that you found something new or just were reminded of an old favorite. Thanks for watching. See ya later.